Hey good people, welcome to the channel. I'm musically malnourished and you're on my journey to go deep and wide and discovering new music and artists. Today, we are getting into my very first experience with the Beatles. This is their 1969 album, Abbey Road. Now, obviously, I don't think you can exist on planet Earth without having heard some Beatles song in some form or fashion. And I think even looking at the track list here, if the lead track Come Together is the Come Together, da, da, that one sounds familiar. Here Comes the Sun, if that's the dun 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 dun, Here Comes the Sun, that one. And then I think that's all I know that on here, unless we come across something that kind of stands out. However, as far as like listening to a Beatles album or songs all the way through or paying attention to the music, this is my first go with the Beatles. So I'm pretty excited about it. This one is chosen by our Chef's Kiss tier on Patreon. So our Patreon members vote every month on albums we listen to on Wednesdays. But then there's another tier called the Chef's Kiss, and they vote on the albums we're listening to on Mondays. So thank you so much for those on Patreon getting this one in. We're going to give each song a listen. I'm going to make some comments along the way, but I'll be keeping notes here in my handy dandy notebook. That way, after each track, we can talk about the things that stand out and do a little digging and see what insider information we can find. The track list is in the description if you want to go to a specific song or just press play. I can't talk. And let's have a good time together. All right, are you ready? I'm ready. Here we go. This is track 1, Come Together. Okay, I recognize this. I wonder if there's going to be a lot of slang in here that I don't know. Dude, what a cool sound. Oh, what a great bass line. Dude, that sounds like an organic hand clap. Weird. I got feet below my knee. One of the guys in this picture is not wearing shoes, by the way. That organ's so warm sounding. Dude, I'm trying to decipher what this song is about, and I can't. Oh, that great with the pull. Dude, and the bass and organ are working so well together right here. Got the shaker. So I see the writing credits here for John Lennon and James McCartney, which I still don't fully know the Beatles' names. Obviously, I know John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and then there's, I've heard the name Ringo, and I don't know if I know the other name. And I know this image is iconic, unless they did a different one like earlier in their career, but as far as them walking across a crosswalk, I know that if it's not this image, there is obviously a very popular image of that, but I never noticed that one of them was not wearing shoes. And the one not wearing shoes is also the only one holding a cigarette. So that's really interesting. Man, obviously, like I've heard this song in so many different things, primarily either the, just that instrumental side, that don't, you know, that little bass line, or when it's the come together, the chorus, but I've never really paid attention to it. And so even the sound, you can tell they're using, well, I'm assuming from a production standpoint, they're utilizing an organic clap there, because it does sound like shoo, shoo, and then this like almost, which whether they did that physically or they just did it within whatever software they were using, which, you know, that being said, 1969, obviously making music was a totally different thing back then, but it sounds so organic, and I guess it would have to be, because it's not like they probably have a whole lot of sound libraries of claps. Now, I could be wrong there. I'm not too familiar with production in the late 60s, but you can hear that hand slap, just how organic that, you know, kind of pull off is. Yeah, the organ sounded beautiful here. Toward the end, you had like the bass drum, the bass, the organ, just working so beautifully together. And then this really calm, chill guitar solo. Man, it was just absolutely beautiful. All right, let's go take a look and see what we can find out, because the language in here was throwing me for a loop, dude. Come Together is the opening track to Abbey Road, written by John Lennon and to be used as a campaign song for famed LSD enthusiast Timothy Leary, who was running for governor of California at the time. That's crazy. It's been suggested that each verse talks about one of the members of the Beatles or a self-portrait of Lennon himself. However, by his own admission, Lennon often simply filled his lyrics with non sequiturs. The thing was created in the studio, this is what John Lennon said. It's gobbledygook. Okay. Come Together was an expression that Leary had come up with for his attempt at being president or whatever he wanted to be, and he wanted me to write a campaign song. I tried and tried, but I couldn't come up with one. But I came up with this, Come Together, which would have been no good to him. You couldn't have a campaign song like that, right? Other than the Come Together part, probably not. That That's so funny that he's saying it's just gobbledygook. Because it kind of sounds like that. So I didn't even hear this "Shoot Me" in the intro. Here come old flat. I don't know if that was the melody. Here come old flat top. He come grooving up slowly, which a flat top would just be a hairstyle, right? This line, along with the rhythm of the first few lines of each verse, was borrowed from the Chuck Berry song "You Can't Catch Me." The obvious similarities resulted in a lawsuit by the owners of song Big Seven Music Corp. The case was settled out of court in 1973 with an agreement that Lennon would include at least 3 songs owned by Big Seven on a future album of cover tunes, eventually released after its own legal problems in 1975. The album Rock and Roll included a cover of "You Can't Catch Me," creating a bit of musical déjà vu. John himself said, "Come Together is me, writing obscurely around an old Chuck Berry thing. I left the line in, 'Here comes old flat top.' It's nothing like the Chuck Berry song, but they took me to court because I admitted the influence once years ago." Dang. That's kind of where you have to be careful, right? And not for the idea of like, pulling one over on somebody, but it's almost that idea of something kind of inspires you and you've obviously done your own thing, created your own thing. And it could just be this very innocent, like, oh yeah, I was kind of listening to the song and it made me think this and I just loved the line. So I kept it. And then all of a sudden, especially when you're the Beatles, somebody knows they can get money off of you. They're like, oh, get him. So it's and the idea of discretion, which sucks, especially when you want to talk about your music and what inspires you and things like that, that it can get you in legal trouble. Says I could have changed it to "Here Comes Old Iron Face," but the song remains independent of Chuck Berry or anybody else on earth. Wild. He got Juju Eyeball. He won Holy Roller. That's what I said. What is Juju Eyeball? Juju is an old derogatory word used mainly by Europeans to describe various forms of African amulets and magic. Oh, yeah, like, okay. I mean, I understand that. He got the juju. Oh, you got the bad juju, right? Juju eyeball would mean something like casting a spell on someone by looking at them. Oh. Beatles writer Ian MacDonald claims this line was inspired by Dr. John's pseudo-voodoo album, Gris Gris. Gris Gris being a synonym of juju. Interesting. He won Holy Roller. He got hair down to his knee. Got to be a joker. He just do what he please. Yeah, I mean, I felt like obviously throughout the song they were describing a person, these characteristics about him, probably someone that's a bit eccentric. But there were just so many things I didn't understand. And then what it was about coming together, unless the idea is there's this very eccentric person, but we need to come together. I don't know. We'll keep exploring. He wear no shoe shine. He got toe jam football. The heck? So obviously I know the idea of maybe he wears no shoe shine is this idea that he's not like some fancy type person. If the rumors about each verse being about one member of the band are to be believed, then this is a reference to Paul being barefoot on the front cover of Abbey Road. Okay, so that's Paul. He has no shoes, therefore he doesn't need to shine them. Toe jam is the stuff that would develop between your toes without proper foot protection. Yeah, but why does it say he got toe jam football? And then he got monkey finger. He shoot Coca-Cola. Shooting Coca-Cola is a reference both shooting heroin and doing cocaine. The mention of Coca-Cola earned the song a ban from the BBC for product placement, which is thought to have stopped the single reaching number 1. The Kinks changed Coca-Cola to Cherry Cola in the single version of Lola when faced with a similar challenge. Jeez. Choose wisely the songs you use, or the words you use in your songs. But you're still not helping me know what monkey finger is, dude. Like, so I'm saying as I'm going through this, I'm like, what is happening? Okay, hold on. Let's see if we can just do a generic search. What is a monkey finger? Okay, let's see. Monkey finger typically refers to one of three things: a rare botanical fruit in Zimbabwe, a famous 9-pitch climbing route in Zion National Park, or a lyrical line. Well, of course, dang it. In the opening verse of John Lennon's Come Together, the lyric "he got monkey finger" is a slang reference to an individual's dexterity, fine motor skills, or ability to grasp things easily. Those are some scary looking bananas. Okay. He shoot Coca-Cola. He say, I know you, you know me. One thing I can tell you is you gotta be free. So again, still sounds like this very eccentric character. But what's with the shoot me? John Lennon can be heard whispering the word shoot me repeatedly in time with the first two notes of the bass line. This continues throughout the song whenever the opening bass riff is repeated. Shoot me is a possible reference to shooting up heroin, which Lennon and Yoko Ono, oh, that's the other one, Yoko Ono, were heavy users of at the time. The words can clearly be heard in this isolated track. These lines became a part of the Paul is dead conspiracy, with some purporting that the voice is actually the fake McCartney asking to be shot. He bagged production. He got Walrus Gumboot, a South African Zulu dance where they wear Wellingtons. The Gumboot dance, oh, okay, I get gumboot, right? Like some galoshes, silicone boots, rubber boots. A rhythmical variation of tap where the aesthetic appearance is secondary to the musicality. The entire body becomes a musical instrument. So Walrus Gumboot? A reference to the 1967 Beatles song I Am the Walrus. In the 1968 song Glass Onion, John sang, now here's another clue for you all. The walrus was Paul. Yet later in 1970's God, Lennon readily admits I was the walrus, but now I'm John. Okay. He got Ono sideboard. He won Spinal Cracker, which obviously the Yoko Ono. Hold on. Oh, wait, no, Yoko Ono is not one of the Beatles. That's the girl that John was with. A reference to Yoko Ono, John's lover and sidekick at most points post-1968. She would sit in with the band, which caused tensions before only the Beatles and manager studio personnel were present during recording. Lennon refers to her as a constantly present sideboard, like she was a piece of furniture in the studio. Okay, he won Spinal Cracker. This line refers to when Lennon crashed his Austin Maxi on July 1st, 1969 with a pregnant Yoko Ono in the passenger seat. John got away with 17 stitches. Yoko suffered a back injury. Okay, so he's a spinal, like he cracks someone's spine, okay? He got feet down below his knee, which would be the bare feet. Oh, I love this. Yes, your foot is indeed below your knee. Thank you for the confirmation. This says this was many of the nonsensical lyrics the Beatles came up with in the latter stages of their career. Yeah, but are we talking about... If we're talking about John in this line, wasn't John the one... No, that was Paul. It was barefoot, wasn't it? Okay, right, because we kind of already established that too. Hold you in his armchair, you can feel his disease. It says one of the most commonly misheard lyrics. The lyric was meant to be hold you in his arms. Yeah, you can feel his disease. Lennon heard the incorrect lyrics and gave it his endorsement? What the heck is going on here? All right. We'll kind of wrap it up here because I think the rest of them are all still fairly cryptic. But this chorus, let's see if we can get some understanding out of this. Given that Lennon's impetus for this song was Timothy Leary's request for a political campaign tune, this line seems likely to be a reference to politicians' followers gathering together to worship their candidate at events such as campaign rallies, feeding the candidate's narcissism. Based on the following comment and many subsequent downvotes, this article suggests Trump as a modern example obsession with politics. A line that like this may be too political in this context should be replaced with, oh, okay, so wait, this is somebody added onto this? Removed reference to a specific candidate. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the idea, just come together over me, over my ideas, over my policies. I wonder if these lines of like shoot me and part of the nonsensical is maybe there's a bit of tongue-in-cheek here. Like they didn't want to be used to write a political song, so they wrote a song that was kind of, again, nonsensical, and putting the ideas of shoot me in there, maybe that's like instead of me making, like, shoot me for having to make a song or write a song that's political or for a specific candidate. I wonder if that's something going on. There are a few other notes down here. Per Paul, after the initial intent to use the song for Timothy Leary's campaign, I said, let's slow it down to the swampy bass and drum vibe. I came up with a bass line, and it all flowed from there. Okay. And then this just reinforces what we saw. Okay, we've got something about live performances. This was produced by George Martin. Okay. This is on like some anthology or something. Means we're gonna have to keep going back out to the original page to get to the songs we want. Ringo just takes this song to a whole other level. Great song. Anyone else think it's funny that John Lennon said "shoot me" and then "come together over me" as if it is if it's at a funeral? We said after reading Sir Paul's interview in GQ last year where he recounted the band's early antics that they did to pass time, I now think of a completely different meaning to "come together." I don't know what it is you're saying there. Oh, okay. Something I don't want to know. I thought this was about them jerking off. What? All right. Well, we're a little bit lost, but hey, very cool song nonetheless. All right. Let's get into track 2. This is Something. I love they have the bass in one ear, the guitar in the other.
I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. Somewhere in her smile, she knows that I don't need no other lover. Something in her style that shows me. Don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in
No, that bass is so good.
You're asking me, will my love grow? I don't know.
Dude, it's such easy listening. Everything's just buttery. And the composition's just beautiful.
And all I have to do is think of her. Something in the things she shows me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I will leave her now.
Written by George Harrison. Is that the other Beatle? George Harrison. Lead guitarist for the Beatles. Okay. So George Harrison and then Ringo Starr. Okay, he's still alive. Did it say George had passed? Yes, okay. George passed in 2001. Ringo Starr. Paul McCartney, who's still alive at 84. Okay. And then is it John Lennon? Yes. Okay. And he passed in 1980. Now, was John Lennon shot? Because he was also the one portrayed in Forrest Gump, right? Assassinated December 8th, 1980, when he was shot outside his New York City apartment building, the Dakota, by an obsessed fan. Dang. He was returning home from a recording studio with his wife, Yoko Ono, when Chapman fired 5 shots, hitting Lennon in the back and shoulder. He was rushed to the nearby Roosevelt Hospital, pronounced dead upon arrival at the age of 40. The sudden loss of the music icon sent shockwaves across the globe, leading to a massive outpouring of grief and tributes from millions of fans worldwide. Today, his legacy lives on through his music and his message of peace, with a memorial, Strawberry Fields, dedicated to him, located in nearby Central Park. Okay, here's that place, Strawberry Fields. Now, John Lennon created a lot of music on his own, right? John Lennon solo albums. Because he was like a really prolific songwriter, from what I understand. Okay, and then they did some, Yoko Ono and him did some stuff together. Okay. Wow. Yeah, man, as far as musically on that, it's like, first thing that comes to mind is the drummer, at least within this song and the previous song, it's not necessarily having to do anything super technical, but he's also very creative. I don't know if it would have been the bridge within something, but the kind of drum roll and the hi-hats and everything, like it was just really interesting to choose to go that route and play the drums in that way. And so I do love that kind of the variation with it. Everything else just so smooth, so great. Voice is beautiful. And then I haven't heard a song in a long time do something like that at the close. There's this big crescendo in the last 12, 15 seconds of the song, which was great because most songs may just go boom and end, or you get that slow fade out. But within just the last 15 seconds or so to give us this crescendo was really cool. I haven't heard anything end like that in a long time. All right, let's get in and see what we can find out about the song. Something. The first George Harrison penned track on Abbey Road. It is hailed as one of the greatest love songs of all time by Frank Sinatra. Well, if it's got Frank's stamp on it, I think you're doing something right. Who mistakenly introduced it in live performances as a Lennon-McCartney song. Oh no. The song is likely about Pattie Boyd, Harrison's then wife. She would go on to get involved with numerous other rock stars, most notably Eric Clapton. Yo? Just kidding. I don't know her personally. George later denied that the song was about her. Well, no, I didn't write it about her. I just wrote it, and somebody put together a video. What they did was they went out and got some footage of me and Patty, Paul and Linda, Ringo and Maureen. It was at that time, and John and Yoko, and they just made up a little video to go with it. So then everybody presumed I wrote it about Patty, but actually when I wrote it, I was thinking of Ray Charles. Oh, that's funny. So what have artists said about the song? George Harrison said it has probably got a range of 5 notes, which fits most singers' needs best. When I wrote it, in my mind I heard Ray Charles singing it, and he did do it some years later. At the time, I wasn't particularly thrilled that Frank Sinatra did something. I'm more thrilled now than I was then. I wasn't really into Frank. He was the generation before me. I was more interested when Smokey Robinson did it, when James Brown did it. But I'm very pleased now. Whoever's done it, I realize that the sign of a good song is when it has lots of cover versions. That's cool. John Lennon and Paul McCartney both rated the song highly. Lennon said, I think that's about the best track on the album, actually. While McCartney said, for me, I think it's the best he's written. So how did George Harrison write this song? I wrote it at the time when we were making the last double album. It's just the first line. Something in the way she moves, which has been in millions of songs. It's not a special thing, but it just seemed quite apt. I usually get the first few lines of lyrics and melody both at once. Then I finish the melody usually first, and then I have to write the words. And now I need to write a couple of more verses, and I find it much more difficult. But John gave me a handy tip once, which is, once you start to write the song, try and finish it straight away while you're in the mood. It's good advice. Okay, I'm assuming George Martin probably did all the production on this album. Sir George Martin was an English producer, arranger, composer, conductor, audio engineer, and musician. He was the Beatles' trusted producer, arranger, and mentor who signed them to EMI and worked on the vast majority of songs throughout their career. Martin had 30 number one hit singles in the United Kingdom and 23 number one hits in the United States. He was often referred to as one of the 5th Beatles. Cool. Well, and he wrote Game of Thrones, which is crazy. Just kidding. Stop. Get out of the comments. Okay. I know that was George R.R. Martin. Just yanking your chain. Come together. Okay. So I wonder, did he do much for anyone else? So obviously this is a lot of Beatles stuff. Not that he really had to do so. Gary and the Peacemakers. Elton John. But yeah, I mean, definitely went to work with the Beatles. Man. Very cool. All right, let's see what else we can look at here. Let's see what the comments have to say. Okay, so there is a music video, which I'm assuming is what they were speaking about earlier. The change of tone in the bridge is like an orgasm to the rest of the lovemaking that this song is. Okay. I just love the Beatles. This song enlightens me. Change from the bridge to the solo is just jaw-dropping. Love the Beatles since my childhood. I'm 15 now, and I'll never stop loving them. That was 7 years ago. You are 22 years old. Crazy. Yeah, really beautiful song. Let's scan back over the lyrics for a moment, because I was so fixated on the production. I could tell it was a romantic song, but I didn't pay too close of attention. Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way she woos me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe and how. Somewhere in her smile she knows that I don't need no other lover. Something in her style that shows me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe and how. You're asking me, will my love grow? I don't know. You stick around now, it may show. Yeah, it's very simple, very poetic. All right, man, I'm having a good time. Let's go to track 3. This is Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and you want access to hundreds of hours of additional content from dozens of artists, then check out my Patreon. That's where we host music videos, live performances, exclusive live streams, behind the scenes content, documentaries, and you get the ability to help vote on the albums we listen to here on the channel. Patreon is the best way to support this channel, and you can get access to the entire library, past, present, and future for just $5. Join the amazing community that we're building over there, and I try to make it worth your time and your money. All right, let's get back into it.
Joan was quizzical, studied pataphysical science in the home.
Pataphysical.
Late nights all alone with a test tube. Oh, 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 oh. Maxwell Edison, majoring in medicine, calls her on the phone. Can I take you out to the pictures, Joan? But as she's getting ready to go, a knock comes on the door. Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver hammer came down
What?
on her head. Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver hammer made sure that she was dead. Back in school again, Maxwell plays the fool again. Teacher gets annoyed, wishing to avoid an unpleasant scene.
Oh, gosh.
She tells Max to stay when the class has gone away, so he waits behind. Writing
Oh my gosh.
50 times, I must not be so. Oh, oh, oh. But when she turns her back on the boy, he creeps up from behind.
What?
Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver hammer came down upon her head. Do-do-do-do-do. Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver hammer made sure that she was dead.
And they had an issue with Eminem?
BC 31 said we caught a dirty one. Maxwell stands alone, painting testimonial pictures. Oh, 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 oh. Rose and Valerie screaming from the gallery say he must go free. The judge does not agree and he tells them so.
Oh my gosh.
But as the words are leaving his lips, a noise comes from behind. Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver hammer came down upon his head.
I was not expecting this.
Bang, Maxwell's
But now I'm wondering if the silver hammer is for something
dead.
not like a physical hammer? Dude, in no way was I expecting a song like this. Which, like I said, I mean, it sounds like Maxwell is a physical person. The silver hammer is a physical object. For a moment, you know, especially after the first one, I began to think, or I guess when it was going into the second one, then obviously with the third one, I'm like, is Maxwell's silver hammer like a brain aneurysm or something? Or is it literally about a character who murders people? And again, another great closing to the song. I'm really curious to see if they carry this throughout the album, that there's like these just really great closers to every song, bringing an element that wasn't in the rest of the song. And this wasn't as much as crescendo, but it did kind of rise up right before the end, which I think is really wonderful. Okay, let's see what the heck is going on with Maxwell and his silver hammer. The third track tells the story of a student who commits a spontaneous and gruesome murder, written primarily by Paul McCartney, but as usual, credited under the Lennon-McCartney moniker. The song is one of many Paul wrote, which showed the influence of music hall songs his father performed when Paul was young, along with tracks like When I'm 64, Your Mother Should Know, and Honey Pie. The song became infamous in later years after the other Beatles spoke out about the song's stressful and lengthy recording process. That's interesting because it was such a simple song, with John Lennon declaring "I hate it" in an interview and Ringo calling it the worst session ever. Other noteworthy aspects of the song include the use of a Moog synthesizer by Paul and the repeated 2 strikes of an anvil. It still isn't known for certain whether the anvil strikes were performed by Ringo or Malcolm Mal Evans, a roadie and technician for the band. Okay, here's what the Beatles had to say. McCartney describes the song as follows. Maxwell's silver hammer was my analogy for when something goes wrong out of the blue, as it so often does, as I was beginning to find out that time in my life. I wanted something symbolic of that, so to me it was some fictitious character called Maxwell with a silver hammer. I don't know why it was silver, it just sounded better than Maxwell's hammer. Well, and it's kind of the idea almost of like Dexter, you know, in these really clean, shiny objects used to murder. The idea of this just all silver hammer is kind of freaky, but obviously something you could easily clean. It was needed for scanning. We still use that expression even now when something unexpected happens. So I called it a little bit, you know, the idea of it being an analogy for something. It's just they put it to such like a story that I was like, you know, trying to figure out where the literal versus the analogy is. That's really cool. The other Beatles, meanwhile, felt negatively about the track, complaining about how long it took to record it. That's Paul's I hate it, because all I remember is the track. He made us do it 100 million times. He did everything to make it into a single, and it never was, and it never could have been. But he put guitar licks on it, and he had somebody hitting iron pieces, and we spent more money on that song than any of them in the whole album, I think. That's so interesting. That was John Lennon. George Harrison said, sometimes Paul would make us do these really fruity songs. I mean, my God, Maxwell's Silver Hammer was so fruity. After a while, we did a good job on it, but when Paul got an idea or an arrangement in his head, Ringo said the worst session ever was Maxwell's Silver Hammer. It was the worst track we ever had to record. It went on for weeks. I thought it was mad. And Paul said they got annoyed because Maxwell's Silver Hammer took 3 days to record. Big deal. There's George Martin on it again. And as is true with a lot of songs of this kind of this nature that might have these dark undertones, it being a very like upbeat song is what makes it so interesting. I laughed while I read every single line in this song. Somebody else said, although it's stated the hammer was Maxwell's, there's nothing that explicitly says Maxwell was the one killing people with it. This leaves open the possibility Maxwell was framed by someone wrongfully incriminated. In this essay, I will, and it ends. That chuckle in the third verse is a unique moment in the entire Beatles catalog. Yeah, I noticed that Mr. McCartney appears to me as insufferably smug as his detractors love to bewail. Upbeat darkness, that's what I will call this song. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Dark and morbid in all the right ways. Yeah, so interesting, man. Again, was not expecting anything like that, so that was a pleasant surprise. I wonder why it took so long to record, because again, it seems so simple in nature. All right. Track 4. This is Oh Darling.
Oh, darling,
Okay.
please believe me. I'll never do you no harm. Believe me when I tell you, I'll never do you.
And Paul does the primary vocals, right?
Oh, darling,
Oh, dude, that little rat-a-tat on the drums, so good.
believe me. I'll never make it alone. Believe me when I beg you. Don't ever leave me alone. When you told me you didn't need me anymore, well, you know I nearly broke down and cried. When you told me
I didn't know the Beatles did this.
you didn't need me anymore, well, you know I nearly broke down and died. Oh, darling,
Oh, this is awesome, man.
if you leave me, I'll never make it alone.
And listen to the hi-hat.
Believe me when I tell you, I'll never do you no harm. Believe me, darling, when you told me you didn't need me anymore, well, you know I nearly broke down and cried. When you told me you didn't need me anymore, well, you know I nearly broke down and died. Oh, darling, please believe me. I'll never let you down. Oh, believe me, darling, believe me when I tell you, I'll never do you no harm.
Man, that was great. Like I said, I didn't know, like, because again, the only Beatles things that I've heard are the ones that we've all heard, and even then only pieces of it. I didn't know they push so hard. Now, I'm pretty sure Paul McCartney is the main vocalist. Who is the drummer? So the drummer is Ringo Starr, iconic, definitive drummer, joining the band in August 1962, remaining with them until they broke up. Dude, he freaking crushed it on this song. So many cool things going on, but I was so fixated on the hi-hat because he kept this, but then he would fluctuate. He would switch it up. Like, love stuff like that, man. Okay. Pretty straightforward song, obviously. this idea of being with a woman, saying he's never going to do her any harm, like don't leave me. And then it really picks up in that, when essentially she's saying she doesn't need him anymore, the intensity goes up. So this says McCartney written ditty from Abbey Road. The relatively simple lyrical content consists of him pleading with a girl, imploring her not to leave him. Due to the intense and potentially painful nature of the vocal necessary, McCartney would make an attempt at a vocal each day for several days until finally achieving the desired result. Okay, like he didn't want to overstrain his voice. Let's see. McCartney said, when we were recording Oh Darling, I came into the studios nearly every day for a week to sing it by myself because at first my voice was too clear. I wanted it to sound as though I'd been performing it on stage all week. Okay, so he wanted a little bit of that rasp in there. A little bit of Phoebe's sexy voice for my Friends fans out there. Oh Darling was a great one of Paul's that he didn't sing too well. I always thought I could have done it better. It was more my style than his. He wrote it, so what the hell? He's going to sing it. Lennon in Playboy magazine interview in 1980. I'm assuming, like, even comments like this, I'm assuming they had a falling out. This obviously could be a playful jest, but it comes across a little more cynical than playful. Harrison said, a typical 1950s, 60s period song because of its chord structure. All right, in the comments, Screaming Paul is the best Paul. I don't make the rules. Somebody else said, this song has a deeper meaning now that I know it could be about John wanting to leave the band. Honestly, my favorite Beatles song. I always thought he said I nearly broke down. Yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe watching a documentary or something on the Beatles. Maybe I can even find something on the making of this album so I don't spoil any other Beatles content. But I guess it really stinks. Like, they obviously had an incredibly strong run because they made a ridiculous amount of albums in a fairly short period of time. I think that's kind of one of the big things about them. But I wonder what it was that just didn't enable them to go for the long haul. All right. I'm really enjoying the Beatles so far. This is track 5, Octopus's Garden. The guitar is so clear, man.
I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. He'd let us in, knows where we've been, in his octopus's garden in the shade. I'd ask my friends to come and see an octopus's garden with me.
Is it the idea that an octopus with 8 arms could make a beautiful garden?
Under the sea, in an octopus's garden, in the shade. We would be warm, below the storm, in our little hideaway beneath the waves. Resting our head on the seabed, in an octopus's garden, near a cave. We would sing and dance around, because we know we can't be found. I'd like to be.
Then obviously sounds like a escapism type song, you know?
Octopus's garden in the shade.
What interesting lyrics, though. Okay. I love all the sound effects in the album.
We would shout and swim about the coral that lies beneath the waves. Oh, what joy
for every girl and boy, knowing they're happy and they're safe. We would be so happy, you and me, no one there to tell us what to do. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden with you. In an octopus's garden with you. In an octopus's garden with you.
Written by Richard Starkey. You know, I know at this point they're very far into their career because this is one of their final albums, I believe. But man, the production's just so tight. Like everything sounds so good. Let's see if there's something going on beneath the surface, pun intended here. The idea of Octopus's Garden came to Ringo Starr when he was on comedian Peter Sellers' boat in Sardinia in 1968. On holiday with his family after having temporarily left the Beatles during their recording of the White Album due to tensions in the group. Starr ordered fish and chips, but the waiter mistakenly gave him squid, a first time for him, and he said of it, it was okay, a bit rubbery, tasted like chicken, of course. The captain went on to tell Starr about how octopus travel along the seabed, picking up stones and other shiny objects and create gardens with them. George Harrison said of the song, which he helped write, Octopus's Garden is Ringo's song. It's only the second song Ringo has ever written, mind you, and it's lovely. Paul McCartney and George Harrison supply backup vocals, and the bubble sounds were created by Harrison, who blew them into a glass of milk using a straw. So, Ringo was the one singing? At this point, I'm obviously not familiar enough with them to tell their voices apart. So, because it's saying Paul and George supply backup vocals. If he did sing it, that's cool how like a bunch of them get a different opportunity to sing and that they all have the ability to sing. Did Ringo Starr sing Octopus Garden? It appears so. Yeah. Well, it says it was written and sung by John. Is Ringo his actual name? Written and sung. This says written and sung by Ringo Starr. Credited to his real name, Richard Starkey. Okay, cool. So that's why it had him in the credits. Yeah, so it seems like they pretty much all have the ability to sing. Superpower. Yeah, I guess to me, and whether he intended to in this, you know, with the idea of being away with tensions in the band being high and then, you know, experiencing this thing and just in your mind imagining maybe a beautiful place, you know, under the sea, away from the waves, not being able to be found. It does feel like there's a bit of escapism in the song, you know, just like if you could be anywhere, where would you want to be right now? It's like, I'd like to be in an octopus garden. Sounds like a peaceful and chill place. So, wonder if there's anything to that in there. Let's see what the comments say. Just this song is enough to say Ringo Starr is awesome. Ringo was love, childhood memories. Somebody says, unironically, the best Beatles song. He says if you listen closely, he sings pretty crooked at the start. You know George loved Ringo because he turned a silly song into a banger. Oh, man. It's just, I'm honestly so surprised with every song. But this is my first taste of a Beatles album. Okay, track 6, I Want You, She's So Heavy. I love singing along with the guitar. The Beatles have a cool flow to them as well, man. Oh, and with the bending on it, dude. I love that the bass is so prominent in a lot of their songs. Dude, it's so cool. It's like one of their longest songs on the album.
She's so
A little halftime. Dude, we're on a journey with this song. This is so cool. Now, I feel like this would be a nightmare to record just with the different time signatures. I wonder if heavy is like the equivalent of she's so bad, or like that's heavy, man. It's such a jam out song. Wonder if they're gonna switch anything up here. wonder what they're using to make that sound. I love those darker chords. Just like evolving in madness. Like a vacuum cleaner. It just stops suddenly. Listen, before we move on, I was trying to figure out what the sound is. It almost sounds like a vacuum cleaner. Hopefully we'll get a little insight. One thing that I found so mesmerizing about the song, other than the fact that like singing along with the guitar, which I love when people do that, man. It's like every note and twang and bend of the guitar hits the notes perfect. There are sections with this, it's driving me mad, it's driving me mad, but there are parts, if not at least one, where he doesn't sing mad, but the guitar finishes the part. So let's see. This section, this might be the only time he did it. Okay, so every other time he finishes the word mad, but listen to this one. You fill in the blank with your brain because the guitar is voicing the lyrics. I don't know, at least for me, I kind of fill in the mad. Maybe it's this section. Yeah, that section more so. Driving me. Super cool. All right, man. And I love just the atmospheric craziness that we get, you know, in the end of the song. Again, it crafts this like listening experience. You know, it's not just like song. Really letting us sit in it. All right, let's see what we can find out here. I Want You, She's So Heavy is one of the last songs the Beatles ever recorded. It appears as the closing track to Abbey Road's A-side, but the core of the composition was actually captured about 3 miles away in Soho at Trident Studios. Written primarily by John Lennon, the piece took 8 months to record, mix, and master. That's wild. Despite being the first song initiated for what would be their final album, it was one of the last to be completed on August 20th, 1969. The last time all 4 Beatles would be in the same room together. Man. Lennon wrote the lyrics for Yoko Ono, according to the Beatles Bible. The Beatles Bible? The Beatles Bible? Oh, is this a website? Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was a book. It was a direct outpouring of his all-consuming love, though it ultimately consists of a mere 14 words. In 1970, John Lennon told Rolling Stone, a reviewer wrote, "He seems to have lost his talent for lyrics. It's so simple and boring. She's So Heavy was about Yoko. When it gets down to it, like she said, when you're drowning, you don't say, I would be incredibly pleased if someone would have the foresight to notice me drowning and come and help me. You just scream. And in She's So Heavy, I just sang, I want you so bad." In classic Beatles fashion, I Want You, She's So Heavy required over 30 takes. The Fab Four worked for 18 straight hours at Trident Studios on February of 1969. This facility was adjacent to a residential district. Eventually, the police received a noise complaint and came knocking at the door, giving the frustrated artists inside one last chance to stick the landing. This famous encounter can be heard on Abbey Road's 50th anniversary Super Deluxe edition. Ever the perfectionist, John Lennon was still unsatisfied with any single take from start to finish, so they enlisted several engineers to splice together takes 9, 20, and 32, later combined with vocal overdubs, countless layers of guitar, and white noise from a Moog synthesizer, which crescendos across an iconic 3-minute outro. Okay, so it's the synthesizer, not a vacuum, whatever. Could have done it with a vacuum. Yes, there's a mysterious scream at about 4:30 mark. This phenomenon was covered in a March 2020 episode of You Can't Unhear This. Interesting. I Want You, She's So Heavy is the Beatles' second longest release at 7:47. At 8:22, their longest official track is Revolution 9 from November 1968's The White Album. Their third longest is Hey Jude. I know that. Pieces of that song from August 1968. The latter comes in at 7:11. It's worth noting, however, that the Fab Four's longest recorded jam session was for Helter Skelter, also from the White Album. It was cut down from 27 minutes to 4:29 and is still credited as the beginning of punk rock music. Cool. All right, the comments say, this song is driving me mad. Nice guitar solo, though. Don't skip the song. Wait for the solo. Paul's bass playing is practically acrobatic through this entire song. Who tagged this song as heavy metal? Trust Beatles fans to glorify a song with like 2 lines. Just kidding, just kidding. This song slaps. Dude, for me, there's a few things that really stand out to me with this song. Obviously not as somebody who's familiar with the Beatles as a whole or even their discography, but I find it so unique when people, that you could almost remove the lyrics from this song and still the guitar would voice it. I just love that so much when people do that. And then obviously, even if it's just like, oh, it's white noise, the fact that they leave in, because it's a cool instrumental, but then you get these dark chords and that white noise building, I just feel like creates this sense of an experience within the album versus, again, it just being song, song, song. All right, I think that I'm familiar with this next song, although I've never listened to it all the way through or ever like looked it up and pressed play on it. This is track 7, Here Comes the Sun. Yeah, okay. What a bright and beautiful song.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here.
I love this.
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright. Darling, the smiles returning to the faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. I say it's alright.
Yo, I am becoming a big Ringo fan. Ooh, the distortion. I love me the right amount of distortion. Beautiful. Ever since starting this channel, I have fallen back in love with physical media, vinyls and CDs in particular, which is why I'm really excited to be an affiliate with vinyl.com. You can browse an extensive library of beautiful vinyls, CDs, accessories, and more. And as a partner of this channel, vinyl.com is offering 10% off for anyone who uses my code malnourished at checkout. You can also check the description for a link or scan the QR code on the screen. Yeah, I love this idea of Here Comes the Sun and the thought about it being a long time or feeling like a long time, because I think you can take it in a literal and a figurative sense. Obviously, the literal sense is after the winter, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the spring, you know, it could be after there's a long period of rain and things like that. But generally, at least for me, I think of going through the winter months, cold, darker, and then coming into the spring, you know, and obviously in the winter as well, the leaves are off the trees. But then you come into the spring and it's like, the warmer weather. The sun is here. Things are blooming and beautiful and vibrant and full of life. And then obviously there are places on the planet that undergo long periods of darkness, and the idea of it being sunny again, I know for those places are just such a huge boost to morale. And then you also obviously get just the side of it of getting vitamin D from the sun, which has an effect on us. But then obviously you take the figurative sense of going through a trial for a long period of time, or just feeling, you know, whether it's like a depression or something like that, and then kind of waking up one day and it feels like it's past, or a time of grieving. And then it feels like the sun is finally come. It makes me emotional thinking about it, because I think it's something we can all relate to, right? We've all been in periods of struggle in our lives that it just feels like, dude, when is it ever going to be sunny again? When is the sun ever going to shine again? And then a lot of times it's just a matter of time, you know. And then one day it's like, okay, I think I'm feeling a little bit better, you know, I'm feeling hopeful again, or whatever it may be. And so I love it from both perspectives. This says Here Comes the Sun is a George Harrison penned track from Abbey Road. Following a period of disillusionment with the music industry, he skipped a day at Apple's offices and went to his good mate Eric Clapton's house. After feeling free and back in love with music, he wrote this song. So yeah, there you go. That's the figurative sense. George Harrison said, Here Comes the Sun was written at the time when Apple was getting like school, where we had to go and be businessmen, sign this and sign that. Anyway, it seems as if winter in England goes on forever. By the time spring comes, you really deserve it. So one day I decided I was going to sag off of Apple, and I went over to Eric Clapton's house. The relief of not having to go and see all those dopey accountants was wonderful. I walked around the garden with one of Eric's acoustic guitars and wrote, Here Comes this. That is so beautiful. I'm using that word a lot in this, but oh my gosh, can you just imagine? Because 100% what I was saying with figurative, and take it into something like this, just being so tired of the industry and trying to get back to the roots of why you loved doing something in the first place. And picturing him getting away from all of that, getting in a beautiful place with the instrument he loves, just making music. I don't know, man. The picture of him wandering around in this garden, just writing and being inspired is so cool. So let's see. It's what we just read from George Harrison. The comments, one of my top favorite songs by the Beatles. Well, yeah, it's a big one. I like suns. Nice. I like big suns and I cannot lie. Hi, this song makes me want to cry. I really wish you'd put a bye at the end of that. Song reminds me of sunny mornings before war. God, I miss those days. What? Okay. First song that made me know the Beatles. Yeah, it just reminds me of those mornings in Nam before we went bombing. Gosh, I miss those days. All right. Let's get into track 8. This is Because.
Because the world is round, it turns me on. Because the world is round.
Harmonies.
Because the wind is high, it blows my mind. Because the wind is high. Love is old, love is new.
Ooh.
Love is all, love is you. Because
Dude, that's so crisp.
it's blue, it makes me cry. Because the sky
Blue, generally the color for sadness, melancholy. Some interesting instrumentation in here. I was wondering if we were going to have any transitions in this album. Really interesting song, man. And obviously, I mean, there were some unique elements in it. Let's see here. The final track to be recorded for Abbey Road was John Lennon's composition Because. The song was inspired by Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata and featured the Beatles' distinctive 3-part vocal harmonies. Yoko Ono was a classically trained pianist whose interests had moved toward the avant-garde. One day in 1969, however, she played Beethoven's Piano Sonata No. 14 in C-sharp minor, OP 27 No. 2, and John requested that she play it backwards. I was lying on the sofa in our house, listening to Yoko play Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata on the piano. Suddenly I said, "Can you play those chords backwards?" She did, and I wrote Because around them. The song sounds like Moonlight Sonata too. The lyrics are clear, no BS, no imagery, no obscure references. Well, I mean, it sounds a little obscure to me. The band gathered at Abbey Road Studio on Friday, August 1st, 1969, to record the main backing track, which required 23 takes. George Martin played electric harpsichord, John Lennon played guitar, George Harrison utilized a Moog synthesizer, and Paul McCartney contributed bass. Ringo Starr kept time on cymbals, but they were only heard in the other's headphones. No percussion appears on the final mix. The Beatles returned to lay 3 vocal tracks 3 days later. These takes were then layered to sound like 9 voices. It's highly likely that John's harmonies were also influenced by Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys' 1966 album Pet Sounds. After it was released, Wilson said that Lennon rang him to say it was the greatest album ever made. The Beach Boys' trademark was, of course, multi-layered harmonies. Okay, a few things. I want to get my understanding around avant-garde. I always felt like the word or the term avant-garde had to do with kind of like unique or eclectic or not mainstream, but let's get clear on it. Avant-garde refers to new, experimental, highly unconventional ideas, people, or works. Okay, so I was right on. Particularly in the arts, literature, and culture, translating from French as vanguard or advance guard, it describes creations that are ahead of their time. So I'm assuming those that would go like the kind of front forces, those who are pushing. Oh yeah, right here. Pushing boundaries, challenging established societal or aesthetic norms. Cool. And then this instrument, harpsichord. The harpsichord is an acoustic keyboard instrument from the Renaissance and Baroque eras that produces sound by plucking strings with small plectrums, historically made of bird quill, rather than striking them with hammers. It's characterized by its bright, crisp, and metallic timbre. Yeah, I could definitely hear something different going on in there. So let's look at the internals on this. So how does this work? I guess like when it pushes up, does it kind of like ting them? And then obviously these rest back down in. So awesome, man. Oh, how does a harpsichord work? We don't have to watch that right now, but it does. It looks like the mechanisms, whenever they're activated, either pull down or push up. And kind of like, instead of striking it like a piano does, maybe it tings on it. That makes sense. Okay. I've never listened to the Beach Boys either. Surprise. This song looks so simple, a commenter says, and yet it's so good and deep. Somehow the Beatles did some kind of magic with the lyrics. They turned simple chords, riffs, and lyrics into masterpieces like this one here. There never was, there never will be anything like the Beatles ever again. They were one of a kind, the greatest band of all time. No one will ever do what they did. Somebody said, I've listened to the Beatles since I was a kid, but somehow never heard this song. So one day I decided to listen to the whole album alone in my room, and I simply fell in love with it. Right, this is track 9, You Never Give Me Your Money. that's interesting.
Nowhere to go.
But it's almost like a freedom.
Nowhere to go. One sweet dream. Pick up the bags, get in the limousine. Soon we'll be away from here. Step on the gas and wipe that tear away. One sweet dream came true. Today came true. Today came true.
A lot of processed vocals on this one, it sounds like.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All good children go to heaven. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I don't know, to me, the song kind of sounds like a bit of a rebel's anthem. Especially with this closing. Like the idea of you should conform because all good children go to heaven, but the thought of nowhere to go and this kind of freedom in that. Like wind chimes in here. Transition? Yeah, okay. All right, let's get in and check this one out. The centerpiece of the side B medley on Abbey Road, it pays tribute to the band itself in the internal struggles that by then had fatally wounded their relationship. With their problems tearing them apart, Lennon privately announced on the 20th of September 1969 that he intended to quit. McCartney broke the news that the Beatles were finished by announcing in April 1970 that he too was leaving the band. Man, I don't even know what goes on, is what all went on, but I'm assuming sad day. So Paul said, "This was me directly lambasting Alan Klein's attitude to us. No money, just funny paper. All promises, and it never works out." Basically a song about no faith in the person that found its way into the medley on Abbey Road. John saw the humor in it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounded like there was a bit of cynicism within it. The comments say in response, so the other comment, a jobber is somebody who does temporary jobs here and there for money, i.e. somebody without a stable career. Somebody else said the Abbey Road photograph was taken 11:35 London time. The Beatles had just finished recording You Never Give Me Your Money on the 8th of August, 1969. 11:35 at London time is 2:35 Los Angeles time. Sharon Tate, Wojciech Frykowski, Stephen Parent, Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger were being murdered in LA by Charles Manson's family at between 2 and 3 a.m. LA time. The phrase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all good children go to heaven, was written on a board at Manson's Spawn Ranch along with the words Helter Skelter. In 1980, just before his death, John Lennon said that his second experience of LSD was at Doris Day's house, the scene of the Tate murders. Okay, interesting. Whoa, that's a big comment. Let's go take a look at the lyrics for a second. So you never give me your money. You only give me your funny paper. In the middle of negotiations, you break down. I never give you my number. I only give you my situation. In the middle of investigation, I break down. It says legal dealings with Apple and within the band were going nowhere. Lennon and Harrison favored the appointment of Rolling Stones manager Alan Klein as their new chief advisor after the death of Brian Epstein, whilst McCartney wanted his new brother-in-law. Lennon and Harrison favored the appointment of Rolling Stones manager Alan Klein, whilst McCartney wanted his new brother-in-law. For a short time, both were appointed as co-managers, but in the end, Klein won out. Out of college, money spent, see no future, pay no rent. All the money's gone, nowhere to go, any jobber got the sack. It says this verse pays lighthearted homage, whatever, to the fact that the band's easy days are over, that they have very real, very pressing adult concerns. It's no longer all screaming crowds and unanimous acclaim for the Beatles. There are legal and personal problems for them to deal with. Monday morning, turning back, yellow lorry, slow, nowhere to go. What's a lorry? A lorry is a British term that can be used to describe a large flatbed truck that carries goods, such as shipping containers and dry cargo containers. In 1957, Lennon's band at the time, the Quarrymen, arrived at the St. Peter's Church in Woolton, Liverpool, to play at the Garden Fete on the back of a lorry. At times, they would often play on the back of it as well. This was also the day when McCartney and Lennon met each other. So yellow lorry, slow, nowhere to go, but oh, that magic feeling, nowhere to go. That's what I was thinking, is it's kind of calling back to this feeling of being young without maybe all these worries. It says these lines transcend the song as a whole. It harks back to when times for all of them, particularly John, were more simple. When having time to yourself with nothing to do, no hassle seemed mundane at the time. But now, after fame and fortune, are sought and longed after. So tragic, man. One sweet dream, pick up the bags, get in the limousine, soon we'll be away from here. Step on the gas and wipe that tear away. One sweet dream came true today. Wonder if that's when, like, music started taking off. Continuing the theme of verse 3, what happens when your wildest dream, the one of a 16-year-old becoming a rich, famous rock star, comes true? Happiness, right? But then what? The game is over. The race was run. How can you feel sad having a dream come true, but then you're left with the absence of a dream? Very sad. Really, it is, man. Okay, and then we'll check this one out. A children's rhyme, possibly symbolizing a new life and new beginning for the band members. Charles Manson, who famously interpreted Beatles lyrics as satanic messages, scrawled this lyric on the Manson family front door. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the lines at the end, to me, I don't know. They seem to speak to me more, like I already stated, this idea of like monotony of falling in line, of having to kind of keep the status quo. But I mean, I could understand the idea of kind of going back to this childlike state as well. But I don't know. It feels less, it almost feels like the antithesis to the that magic feeling, nowhere to go, this kind of freedom. Even though maybe you don't have a lot, you feel rich in your soul, but then you kind of gain everything that you were aiming for, and now it's like, oh, I feel kind of empty. So you were kind of wild and moving, versus that idea of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All good children go to heaven. Like, this is what the music industry wants you to do. Wants you to fall in line. Wants you to just be obedient children. Versus, you know, I think the real love of the music was when there was that kind of unknowing of what the future was going to hold, but that kind of being scary and exciting at the same time. All right, let's get into track 10, titled Sun King. The little mallets on the cymbals to give that real soft feeling. This almost reminds me of maybe like something they saw in a parade or a celebration. Like something you might see in a Mardi Gras parade. I don't speak Spanish. Wait, but that's French. Is it French and Spanish? Transition? Yeah? Okay, let's see what in the world is going on with the Sun King here. It says Sun King was the first of John Lennon's 3-song contribution to the famous Side 2 medley that concludes the Beatles' final studio recording, the brilliant farewell album. Sun King was actually recorded as one take along with Mean Mr. Mustard as part of the medley concept. Although Lennon has downplayed his involvement in the idea, saying, "There are only finished bits of things I wrote in India. We always have tons of bits and pieces lying around. It was a good way to get rid of bits of songs." In fact, Sun King is a wistful snippet of breathtaking beauty, providing one of the most tender moments on the entire album. The song is directly inspired by Fleetwood Mac's Albatross, which was released 1 year earlier. The key and chords in the intro are the exact same. The song was originally called Here Comes the Sun King, but the title was shortened after George Harrison brought in Here Comes the Sun. Oh, okay. So the comments... Somebody said, does anyone else get a sundown, sunset vibe from this song, or am I the only one? I feel like I'm in a field with rolling hills just as the sun is set, leaving the sky this lavender color. Also, the cricket sound effects throughout the song give it that after dark mood. Not to mention the transition from You Never Give Me Your Money to Sun King is filled with ambient nature sounds as Sun King starts. My oddly specific mood from Sun King. Cake and Eat It Carousel are the actual lyrics, last line written as a joke. A song with mixed lyrics that mean very little at all. French, Italian, Portuguese. They also had a song by a well-known Mexican composer. Okay, let's go look at if there's anything to this Sun King line. Louis the 14th was called the Sun King, a title which originates with religious worship of the solar deities. Many civilizations believed the sun was a god, and in addition to being our sustaining light, also took mortal form in kings and supreme leaders. Even as late as the 18th century, this belief endured in tacit, superstitious awe of kings. This validated the doctrine of divine rights of kings, which empowered a leader's supreme, indomitable rule through legitimacy as deity. The Beatles had affinity for Egyptian symbols, so I've always related this song as an homage to the sun god Ra and the Egyptian sun king Horus, the most enduring messianic figure from the ancient Egyptian religion. This song, which is part of a beautiful medley on side 2 of Abbey Road, has the similar lyrics to Harrison's side 1 song, Here Comes the Sun, which heralds the sun returning after a depressing, long, dark, lonely winter. With only 2 English lyrics other than this line, everybody's laughing, everybody's happy, it seems as if they are also welcoming back the sun as the Sun King to dispel a metaphoric, long, dark, lonely winter. Okay, man, that's a long edition. In all great lyrical poetry, the ability to broaden the meaning to incorporate the reader-listener is an unintentional but successful mark of genius. Yeah, the reason for me, I don't know, especially with the foreign things at the end, which we'll look at what those translate to, it made me think of this imagery from Dave Matthews, the album Big Whiskey and the Grugrux King, which is this kind of Mardi Gras symbol, and the art is a Mardi Gras parade. Oh, it's so small. Let me see if I can get a bigger one. For me, I was just wondering if maybe they were in a foreign place and watching some sort of procession, you know, with this big figure that's supposed to be kind of like the Sun King. That's what it was making me think about. All right, the translation here, a hodgepodge of Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese words not really making particular sense. When we came to sing it, to make them different, we started joking, saying cuando, para mucho. We just made it up. Paul knew a few Spanish words from school, so we just strung any Spanish words that sounded vaguely like something. And of course, we got chica verde. That's a Liverpool expression. Doesn't mean anything, just like na 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 na. One we missed, we could have had paranoia, but we forgot all about it. We used to call ourselves Los Paranoias. Que canite is a play on cake and eat it, a phrase meaning that you want to have 2 good things which cannot exist together. You want to try and make sense of something that's not supposed to make sense. Someone already deciphered the verse. Okay. Should we look at it? Ooh. Let's see. We'll take a quick look. The Beatles freely mix dialects and languages here. The lyrics are usually published as, okay, here. Note, chica verde is a Liverpool expression. Parasol is an umbrella, of course, but literally translates as parasol for the sun, or perhaps pere-sol for Sun King. Paparazzi are people who take pictures of celebrities. Que can eat it should be que can eat it. Carousel is a popular brand of chocolates in Britain. Obrigado is Portuguese, thank you. So now a rough little translation would most likely be, win for much of my love of happy heart. World paparazzi, my love, chica verde, or green girl for the sun. This thanks very much, cake and eat it, carousel. On the bootleg LP, John is interviewed about the lyrics. We just started joking. Okay, that's what we read. We read this too. Thought we'd have a hit with that in other countries if we take it off separate. Cake and eat it is another nice line too, because they have that in Spanish, K or something, and eat it. So we could have cake and eat it. So if John had it to do over again, the lyrics would be cuando paranoias, win the paranoids instead of cuando para mucho. All right. Well, now we know. All right, let's get into track 11, titled Mean Mr. Mustard.
Mean Mr. Mustard sleeps in the park, shaves in the dark, trying to save paper. Sleeps in a hole in the road, saving up to buy some clothes. Keeps a 10-mark note up his nose.
Okay.
Such a mean old man. Such a mean old man.
Bum 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 bum.
His sister go-getter. Takes him out to look at the queen. Only place that he's ever been. Always shouts out something obscene. Such a dirty old man. Dirty old man.
Interesting. I'm curious too, what exactly do they mean when they're talking about a medley? Are they saying the whole other side of the album is a medley, or there's like a run of songs? What do they mean by medley in Abbey Road? I mean, I know a medley, well, at least my understanding of a medley is generally several different songs kind of mashed together. This says the medley on side B of the Beatles, Abbey Road, is a 16-minute, 8-track suite that seamlessly connects several short, unfinished song fragments into one continuous musical piece, spanning from You Never Give Me Your Money to The End. This sequence was created to turn fragmented musical ideas from John Lennon and Paul McCartney into a cohesive, symphonic finale. Okay. So is this, So the medley represents the band's final act of collaboration and innovation before splitting up. So we get kind of, I guess, really cohesive standalone songs on the front, the first part, and then the other side is, I'm assuming, not something they do with most of their albums. This is just kind of like, we wanted to put a bunch of stuff together because it's like our last hurrah. If I'm reading that correctly, that's what's going on here. So it makes sense that listening to them, you know, back to back to back, there probably are a lot of transitions and things between them, or maybe even some kind of shared ideas or this thread. Let's take a look at Mean Mr. Mustard. Recorded as one with Sun King, Mean Mr. Mustard was composed in India by John Lennon in spring in 1968. It was considered for inclusion on the White Album, but wasn't recorded in the studio until the Abbey Road sessions the following year. The song originated from a newspaper story about a miserly man who was said to have hidden his money in his rectum. That's me writing a piece of garbage. I'd read somewhere in the newspaper about this mean guy who hid £5 notes, not up his nose, but somewhere else. No, it had nothing to do with cocaine. That's John Lennon. Another interpretation was later offered by Tony Bramwell, an associate of the group. There was an old bag lady who used to hang around in the Knightsbridge End of Hyde Park, London, close to the army barracks. She had all her possessions in plastic bags and slept in the park. I'm sure she had something to do with the song. The group originally recorded a demo at Ken Fond's George Harrison's bungalow in Esher, Surrey. This version from May 1968 was eventually released on Anthology 3. John Lennon said in Mean Mr. Mustard, I said his sister Pam. Originally it was his sister Shirley in the lyric. I changed it to Pam to make it sound like it had something to do with it. Polythene Pam. They're only finished bits of crap that I wrote in India. During the development of Abbey Road's long medley, Her Majesty was originally included between Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam, before Paul McCartney decided the sequence didn't work. However, when Her Majesty appeared at the end of the album, it was anticipated by the final crashing chord of Mean Mr. Mustard left in from an early mix. Somebody said, when I first heard this, I thought it was about a homeless veteran. The whole thing about him shouting obscenities at the Queen, maybe because his country didn't care for him properly. Somebody else said this is probably a stretch, but when they call Mr. Mustard a dirty old man, I wonder if this is a subtle reference to Wilfred Bramble, who played Paul's grandfather in A Hard Day's Night. In the film, it was a running joke to tell people that he was clean because Bramble was a star on the show Steptoe and Son, where his character was always called a dirty old man. This is interesting. All right. So yeah, these are all super short. Track 12 of the medley, Polythene Pam.
You should see Polythene Pam. She's so good looking, but she looks like a man. You should see her in drag, dressed in a polythene bag. Yes, you should see Polythene Pam. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get a dose of it and jackboots and kills. She's killer diller when she's at the hills. She's the kind of a girl that makes an use of the veil. Yes, you can say she was attractively built. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
These are so random. Oh, that's fun. We'll let this play.
Oh, look out! She came in through the bathroom window, protected by a silver spoon. But now she sucks her thumb and wonders by the banks of her own lagoon. Didn't anybody tell her? Didn't anybody?
They are jamming in these though.
Sundays on the phone to Monday. Tuesdays on the phone to me. She said she'd always been a dancer. She worked at 15 clubs a day. And though she thought I knew the answer,
It's like one of those like wood clamp things.
could not say, and so I quit the police department and got myself a steady job. And though she tried her best to help me, she could steal, but she could not rob. Didn't anybody tell her? Didn't anybody see? Sundays on the phone to Monday. Tuesdays on the phone to me. Oh yeah.
Good. They gave us a good transition point. It's like, because I'm sure most of these are meant to just be listened to bang, 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 back to back. Okay. Let's go check out Polythene Pam. I wonder if these two, like, were just fragments of songs, ideas that they had, you know, but if they were taking more time, maybe for another album or something, they would have fleshed a lot of these out more versus just taking these very condensed things, you know, and obviously creating what they've created here. Which, because these are some really interesting musically, but they all happen so quickly, you know, it's like you can't really settle into it. All right. So Polythene Pam, although written by John Lennon in 1968, Polythene Pam wasn't recorded and released until the following year, when it was included as part of the long medley on the Abbey Road album. Polythene Pam was recorded as one with Paul McCartney's She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. It was the only time two separate songs by the two writers were recorded as one. The song recounts, with some poetic license, the tale of a Liverpool scrubber with an almost comical fetish, sung in a thick Scouse accent for earthy authenticity, It harks back to the Beatles' early days performing in Merseyside's seedier venues. It also resurrects the group's Yeah, Yeah, Yeah refrain from the days of She Loves You. The character of Polythene Pam is believed to have been drawn from two women from different times in the Beatles' existence. The first was Pat Dawson, nee Hodgett, a Liverpudlian fan from the group's early days who was known as Polythene Pat due to her somewhat improbable love of the substance. I started going to see the Beatles, this is Pat Dawson, in 1961 when I was 14. I got quite friendly with them. If they were playing out of town, they'd give me a lift back home in their van. About the same time, I started getting called Polythene Pat. It's embarrassing, really. I just used to eat polythene all the time. I'd tie it in knots and then eat it. Sometimes I even used to burn it and then eat it when it got cold. Then I had a friend who got a job in a polythene bag factory, which was wonderful because it meant I had a constant supply. Hold up. Polythene like plastic? This is like my weird, strange addiction? What? Polythene is the world's most common synthetic plastic. Lightweight, durable, flexible polymer made from ethylene gas. Dude. Yes, this is my... What is it? My Strange Addiction? My Strange Addiction, I think is the name of the show. I remember there was like a guy or a girl or something that ate couches. Like the styrofoam from inside couches. Ugh. Ugh, gosh, it makes me gag. She ate polythene? Okay. The second woman was the girlfriend of English beat poet Royston Ellis, for whom the Beatles had performed as a backing band in Liverpool in June 1960. The group remained friends with Ellis for some years, and in August 1963, John Lennon had a memorable encounter with Ellis and his girlfriend Stephanie. John said, "That was me remembering a little event with a woman in Jersey, and a man who was England's answer to Allen Ginsberg, who gave us our first exposure. This is so long, you can't deal with all this. You see, everything triggers amazing memories. I met him when we were on tour, and he took me back to his apartment and had a girl, and he had one he wanted me to meet. He said she dressed up in polythene, which she did. She didn't wear jackboots and kilts. I just sort of elaborated. Perverted sex in a polythene bag, just looking for something to write about." What, dude? The incident actually occurred in Guernsey following the Beatles' concert on 8th of August, 1963. Ellis and Stephanie invited Lennon back to their rented flat where they three wore polythene and shared a bed out of curiosity about kinky sex. We'd read all these things about leather, and we didn't have any leather, but I had my oil skins, and we had some polythene bags from somewhere. We all dressed up in them and wore them in bed. John stayed the night with us in the same bed. I don't think anything very exciting happened, and we all wondered what the fun was in being kinky. Probably more of my idea than John's. This is Royston Ellis. I feel like these are things you keep to yourself, you know? The Beatles recorded a demo of Polythene Pam in May 1968. The song was considered for inclusion on the White Album, but wasn't recorded until a year later. The Kinfons demo was eventually released in 1969 on Anthology 3, and in it, the line, "She's the kind of a girl that makes the news of the world," is replaced by, "Well, it's a little absurd, but she's a nice class of bird." There are also variations in the song's chords. On Abbey Road's Mean Mr. Mustard, the line "His sister Shirley works in a shop" was changed to "His sister Pam" to create an impression of narrative continuity. While recorded separately, the two songs appear back-to-back on the album, having been recorded in the same key and edited together without a gap. Okay, well, that's weird. The Good Day is actually John saying, "Great!" And later on, listen to that, Mal will look out. Okay. All right, well, wasn't expecting all that. Did we... Oh. Here, let's take a look at... She came in through the bathroom window real quick. So from the iconic side 2 of the legendary album, Song of the 16-minute medley, the lyrics are based on an incident when a fan entered Paul's house through, well, a bathroom window. One of the best-known covers was by Joe Cocker in 1970. And then no comments, nothing on this one. Oh, listen to that, Mal. Oh, look, out. She came in through the bathroom window, protected by a silver spoon. But now she sucks her thumb and wanders by the banks of her own lagoon. Okay. In this line, Paul's saying the girl is protected by her silver spoon, thus is not afraid of getting into trouble by sneaking into his house. The wealth she comes from could probably get her out of any trouble. But now she sucks her thumb and wanders. She's an immature, possibly sheltered, due to her silver spoon life. She's acting childish once inside the house. Didn't anyone tell her? Didn't anybody see? Sundays on the phone to Monday, Tuesdays on the phone to me. This may be a reference to the 19th century nursery rhyme Monday's Child, where Sundays, the Sabbath child, is bonny and blithe and a good and gay, who is calling Monday's child, or simply Monday in the track, where Monday's child is fair of face. Tuesday's child is full of grace. Tuesday is calling me. So me must be Wednesday or Wednesday's child, the one who is full of woe. Perhaps because of the strange circumstance happening in his bathroom and with life in general in the spotlight. All right, that's an interesting line. Man, some fairly odd songs there. All right, let's check out the next part of this medley, track 14. This is Golden Slumbers.
Once there was a way to get back homeward.
This is pretty.
Once there was a way to get back home. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. Golden slumbers fill your eyes. Smiles awake you when
Got a little Jack Black there.
sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. Once there was a way to get back homeward. Once there was a way to get back home. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. I never give you my pillow, I only send you my invitations, and in the middle of the celebration.
It is pretty great for them to be able to build this to where they all kind of mesh together. Let's let it go through to the end. I love that. I mean, it's pretty simple tom work, but I don't hear a lot of breaks like that. Oh, they're breaking everything out here for the moving toward the end.
And in the end, the love you
Oh, it's a good closing message.
is equal to the love you made.
Wow. Almost like if you want to receive love, give love. There's one more on here called Her Majesty. I wonder if it was a hidden track, which is why there's the space here. Let's let that play and then we'll go back and look at some things. All right, here we go.
Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but she doesn't have a lot to say. Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but she changes from day to day. I wanna tell her that I love her a lot, but I gotta get a belly full of wine. Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, someday I'm gonna make her mine, oh yeah, someday I'm gonna make her mine.
Okay, man. Wow, we really had to kind of roll with the punches there just because I wasn't expecting that whole medley, section. Let's get in. And I'm wondering with Her Majesty, because it's not listed here on this Genius page. So we'll go look at that and see what was going on. The Golden Slumbers, 6th part of the climactic medley. Abbey Road, Golden Slumbers is followed by Carry That Weight and begins the progression that leads to the end of the album. The two songs were recorded together as a single piece, both written by Paul, with strings and brass, arranged and scored by producer George Martin. A number of the lyrics are based on a poem by 17th century poet Thomas Dekker called Cradle Song. The song has been covered by several high-profile artists, including Neil Diamond, Elbow, and Dua Lipa. Very good. Will make you sad. Perfect transition into Carry That Weight. Somebody said, I believe McCartney wrote Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, and The End as a catharsis for the impending breakup of the Beatles, which signified the last 3 songs on Abbey Road. Okay, and then we had Carry That Weight. McCartney, Harrison, and Starr began recording Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight medley while John Lennon was in the hospital in Golspie, Scotland, following a car accident. It unusually features vocals from each Beatle, with Lennon recording his part after the others when he'd returned from the hospital. I said, whenever I listen to the White Album, that song comes up, I'm brought to a place. When the same chord progression from Golden Slumber plays, I don't know, the same notes from a lullaby applied to a real adulthood theme, it's powerful. Nothing is easy in life, right? Carry that weight. See you, space cowboy. Yeah, because the song before I was thinking was really pretty. You know, obviously he kind of takes it to a little bit of like a more intense place, but I was like, oh, that'd be a beautiful song to learn and just sing to my daughter because it does have that lullaby feeling. And then the end, and then the perfect capper, finishing with a song called The End, which features alternating guitar solos from John, George, and Paul, and a drum solo from Ringo. Was an ideal curtain call from a band that just a few years earlier had been a bunch of punk kids from a nowheresville called Liverpool. With more confidence than skill, this is how you finish a career. It says Paul McCartney regained the rights to all the Beatles songs after they'd been bought by Michael Jackson in 1985. What? However, the 1976 Copyright Act made sure they were handed back to Paul as of 2018. Well, this is interesting. And then the comments, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. Somebody said the ironic thing is that Lennon wanted sides 1 and 2 of Abbey Road to be opposite of what they ended up being, so that I Want You, She's So Heavy would end the album. Sorry, John, you didn't get that one right. Unfortunately, Paul and George Martin overruled him on this point. Yeah, I agree. So, bro, literally no one cares about Trump. I'm assuming somebody mentioned Trump in here. Abbey Road's best closer to the Beatles' discography. It's the time the band came full circle. Everyone gets their equal time to shine. It truly is their swan song. Okay, and then what was it? It was Her Majesty. Let's see. All right, it's loading. Let It Be might be the last Beatles album released, but Abbey Road was the last recorded, making Her Majesty the last Beatles song of sorts. I wonder if that's why it was placed on this one. Maybe it wasn't originally. Her Majesty is a snippet excluded from the Abbey Road medley, originally between Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam. The crashing D major chord at the beginning is actually the end of Mean Mr. Mustard. It was one of the first hidden tracks to appear on a record, according to Beatles writer Ian MacDonald. Said McCartney rightly judged that it didn't fit and told second engineer John Kurlander to cut it out and throw it away. Kurlander, who had been instructed never to discard anything the Beatles recorded, instead edited it, for convenience's sake, to the end of the medley. When McCartney heard this the following day, he liked the random effect. It is the shortest song in the Beatles' repertoire, clocking in at around 26 seconds. Okay, this is probably just further talking about what we just read. McCartney appreciated the happy accident, saying that was very much how things happened. Really, you know, the whole of our career was like that, so it's a fitting end. Due to the spontaneity of the last-minute decisions, the final chord of Mean Mr. Mustard can be heard at the beginning of Her Majesty. The final chord to Her Majesty can be heard at the beginning of Polythene Pam, which means it was ultimately omitted from the end of the album itself. Famous missing last chord can be heard in an early mix of the third take. Somebody said, while there's nothing too deep here, I see some room for an alternate interpretation. In addition to referring to Queen Elizabeth II, the song can also easily refer to a lover or a girl Paul admires. Somebody said, I've seen this song as being kind of a funny bit about an alcoholic bum who sees the Queen nearly every day from his homeless perch, drowning in ripple, eventually falling in love with the Queen in a pickled delusion. Who's using this song to wash their hands? This is adorable. I imagine the Queen getting a giggle from it. I love that interpretation, especially if it's falling with Mean Mr. Mustard. You know, if it was kind of like Mean Mr. Mustard, seeing her and being like, the Queen will one day be mine. Okay, well, let's talk some closing thoughts. Yeah, that whole medley part was definitely not something I was anticipating, and so it took me a second to kind of adjust. And I'm assuming, again, that that is very distinct to this album, them knowing that they were ending things. And so I'm looking forward to kind of listening to it without really having to listen to it like we do on here. But it really piques my interest for more from the Beatles. Funny enough, I actually have this puzzle that I bought from Theory 11. They're a really great website. They make cool playing cards. They have some Beatles playing cards and things too, but this is a puzzle for Yellow Submarine, which I obviously haven't listened to, but I saw the puzzle and really wanted to get it. Just because I knew that I was going to be getting into the Beatles at some point. And so I guess, you know, us kind of starting at the end, which this is an album voted in on Patreon, is really interesting. You know, sometimes I don't mind doing it that way, because then you kind of get to go back and hear from the beginning. You know, you get this taste of where they ended, and then hearing from where they start, and that progression all the way up can definitely be fun. However, obviously because of the nature of the medley, everything kind of happening really quickly and stuff, that's really great to hear. And I think obviously for what it means for the Beatles and their career is really important. But I loved, honestly, the first part of the album, which I would guess is more traditional Beatles with the full songs and things like that. I absolutely loved. I became a huge fan of Ringo. I love the bass work through everything. I love the kind of playful lyrics and some of it just not taking themselves too seriously. It gets me really interested in what obviously there are other songs and the writing in them. I love, it's very similar even with like Pearl Jam, just pulling these songs from things that don't necessarily have to have super deep meaning. They're just more so observations of the world around them. Even the idea of the Octopus's Garden, which I think has a very meaningful interpretation. Obviously, I shared kind of what I drew from the song, but even out of itself, it's just not a super serious song. It's just this observation of life and wanting to make a song about it, and I can really appreciate that. The vocals on here, absolutely beautiful. Everything was just tight and locked in. You had kind of sound effects at different points. Just a lot of great musical decisions. A lot of variety. I loved the focus on making the end of the tracks really great. I always appreciate that with an artist, because sometimes, you know, you just want to let the end ride out, but doing something unique at the end, I think is really interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into more Beatles as we move forward. I really enjoyed this one. Sorry if the medley was a little disjointed and things. I kind of just had to figure it out as we were moving along. But overall, wonderful experience. My first time really listening to the Beatles, and I look forward to more. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to check things out on Patreon, we'll get some stuff up from this album. Maybe I'll even be able to watch a documentary, and we'll put that up as well. Thousands or hundreds of hours of additional content from dozens of artists. And like this one, you can help vote on the albums we listen to here on the channel. Building a great community over there, and it is the best way to support this channel, as obviously these videos are not monetizable. But thanks for hanging out with me. I look forward to speaking with you in the comments. Feel free to fill in any gaps, and we'll have a good time there. But thanks for hanging out with me. I hope to see you in the next one, because we're eating good.